Welcome back, guys, to my YouTube channel. This is Derek again. Just want to talk a little bit about ghosts or perceived ghosts. I had a couple individuals to ask me to tell them a story about when I was in Germany and we seen a whole bunch of shadowy figures. Crazy. So what it was is in southern Germany, there's a place called Grafenwehr, Germany. It's where U.S. military and other military forces get together sometimes and just go out and train. So, not sure if y'all are familiar, but there are certain parts of Germany that get really foggy. And when I'm saying foggy, I mean you can have your hand and foot in front of your face and you can't see it through the fog. So the story is that my commander and I were driving around, or I was driving my commander around, and we're doing this joint exercise and we're trying to find a location. But it's hard to find when you're driving with night vision on, no headlights, just night vision. And it's dark. We know we're on a road. Like I said, this is a military installation, so there are roads and things like that. And I'm just telling him, sir, it's too dark. It's too dark. It's too foggy. I can't see. With my night vision. Let me turn the lights on. He's like, no, you can't turn the lights on. We got to treat it like it's a real military mission. I'm like, I understand that, sir, but just, flick them on for a second, see if I can get my bearings, see where we're at, something. He's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And he said, we're on a path. So just go to the left or the right until you get to grassy area, and we'll stop because then we know we're out of the way of any traffic. Because big old M1 Abram tank come through at 15 miles an hour, and little old aluminum Humvee, and it's pancake. So I didn't want to be a pancake. I like being a ball of dough. Ha! I'm just kidding. So I was like, sir, I can start driving in a direction, but what if there's a cliff there? Because there were some small cliffs in the area, 5-10 feet, but enough to rattle your brain and aggravate the shit out of you. And so finally we started driving and we could see some light. And I said, well, that's a good sign. And I said, that's a telephone pole light, a street light. Because they did have them on the training part of the military installation. And just imagine driving for 15 miles and just black, and then there's just a light right in the middle. No rhyme, no reason, no buildings around, no nothing. But I'm not complaining. I was happy that light was there. So we get up closer to that light, and all of a sudden, and granted, it's real foggy, so you're looking at a foggy light. Just like you can't see, it's just foggy light. And we get closer, and then I noticed there's all these black shadows all over the place. And I'm like, sir, what is that? He said, I have no idea, but they're moving. I said, I know, and they're moving real slow and eerie like. And they weren't tall. They were a bunch of real short figures, just all cramped together. And I was like, wow, what is this? This is just crazy. My heart's thumping. I know his was, although he's, big bad commander. He doesn't, nothing bothers him. Well, plenty bothers me. So I got out to see what the hell it was. And I tell him, I said, sir, if you hear me start screaming or whatever, he goes, I'm just going to run your ass over and get out of here. I said, appreciate the backup. So I go out there. And I'm getting, and like I said, the fog is really dense. I mean, my hand is this close, and I could barely see my hand. So, but with the brightness of the light, you could still see the shadowy figures. So I'm walking, and I'm just going real slow. I got my weapon with me. And then all of a sudden, it was a clearing in the fog, and the fog cleared. And it cleared, and it was about as clear as a football field. And I stood petrified in my spot right where I was at. And I slowly look back at my commander, and he just goes, and that's stop. And he's double stop. And I'm just standing there. It was hundreds and hundreds of hogs. Big, ginormous ones, probably 2 foot back, 3 foot back, 4 foot back, bunch of baby ones, just a ton of hogs, wild hogs, boars, whatever you want to call them. And they were just peacefully walking by. Some of them just look up at me and smile, and I just nod my head. How you doing? I'm not here for nothing. I'm just watching. Don't mind this gun, this weapon. I'm not going to do nothing with it. It's not even loaded. Because I'd be damned, they could tear me up in a heartbeat, that many of them. But they just kept on going, and all of a sudden, they just disappeared into the fog. Fog rolled back in. I walked my happy ass back to my Humvee, got in, told my commander we need to make camp somewhere because I got to change my underwear because that scared the hell out of me. It wasn't the dark figures and not knowing what they were. It was finding out what they really were. And it's one of the few times when I think I could have been in real danger. There wasn't any, but it was very scary, very scary. And so along the same lines with that same story, but this isn't about a ghost. We still in Grafenwehr, Germany, and cold as all get out. I'm cold. I mean, when it starts raining and the raindrops are shivering, it's just cold. And so we were staying and my commander was wet, so we didn't have any place to put our tent up. So he's like, we'll just get our sleeping bags and we'll just sleep in the Humvee. So you're basically just sitting in an upright position. Because in a military Humvee, the lower rank ones, the seats didn't recline. So you're sitting literally in an upright position. Well, we ran our vehicle on where we weren't supposed to because they're diesel and you can't just run it because the exhaust comes into the cab and I don't know, you could die or something. That's what rumors, everybody's got rumors. And we would have cracked the windows a little bit, but it was cold and wet. So my commander made some calls on the radio and another unit came by and he got out and went and stayed with the commander from another unit, and I went over to a tank battalion and so found some guys I know and said, hey, can I camp out with y'all tonight inside the tank? Because everybody just in a tank, you can keep it running because it actually has a heater inside and you just leave the back door open. And then the turret of the tank, it's got the backside that actually extends out over the opening where the crew goes in. And so you leave it open, there's no rain coming in, the engine's running, so it's actually blowing down on the ground. So that little bit of area right there by the opening is warm because the exhaust is running and it's blowing out, not into us, but out and about. And plus they have heaters inside the turret of the tank. So I'm, ask a couple of guys and they're like, yeah, sure, come on, D, you can stay over here. So I climb in and everybody's just laying on the floor in their sleeping bags. There's 3 guys in there, and me is 4. Their platoon leader, he went and stayed in his tent with some other people, things like that. But, some people have to stay in the vehicle to keep it at the rate. So if the enemy should show up, we got to be able to react right then. So, I had my Humvee parked right at the back and climbed in there, climbed my sleep bag, went to sleep. Man, I slept good. Woke up the next morning, got a buddy of mine, he's like, D. And I'm like, why are you waking me up? So he's like, D, don't move. I'm like, why not? He said, shh, whatever you do, don't move. If you move slowest that you've ever moved. I'm like, why? He goes, look down into your lap. So I'm laying flat and I look down and there's a freaking fox curled up in a ball, sound ass asleep in my lap, in between my legs, down, on top of my sleeping bag. And I'm just like, oh yeah, this is another one for the books right here. And so I kind of stirred just a little bit, try to get him up. I look over my shoulder and look out the door. I see trash everywhere. So that little son of a gun come over there and got him something to eat and felt all that heat and said, I'm not going to sleep out here in the cold. So he abandoned his family to come sleep with us for the night. So he finally starts getting up and kind of like a black cat. He stands up and he arches his back real good and he stretches his front legs out, stretches his back legs out, and just proceeds to step off my sleeping bag and walk right next to me. And his face was right about here. And he just looked at me like, I left the money on the table, bitch. And just went on out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Did this really just happen? And it's just the wildest thing. You just never know with animals, you know. You never know. I mean, once again, it's a situation that could have gotten really ugly really quickly. I wish it would have. I wouldn't have had to stay out in the cold anymore. I could have gone back and slept in a regular bed and in a warm room and everything else. Maybe in a hospital, but nonetheless. And speaking of hospitals, let me tell you another story. This was Grafenwehr, Germany still. Another incident. And this is where I got my wish. See the previous comment. So I'm driving around and there's a battery of Howitzers, M109 Howitzers. So they were coming into place. Well, there's one crew, they were short a guy. And I was familiar with how everything ran. So I got out and I ran up and guided this one howitzer tank, we'll just call it a tank, guided this tank into position. And when he come into position, see what they do is they come in and they have these little things on the back called spades. And they're about 2 foot wide a piece and they're solid steel. And you just hit this little pin on there and they drop. And then what that tank does is it backs into place. It digs into the dirt and it backs in. So when it fires, it just goes poof. Whereas if it didn't have those in it, it'd go poof. Well, you don't want to shake up the whole crew and somebody spilled a drink or something like that. So I got over there and he dropped the spades. He backed into place. Well, he wasn't quite level. He was on a little bit of an incline. And on the top of that tank, it's got this little barrel, right? Well, that tank, that barrel, when they're traveling, it sits in a little contraption that sits like this. The tube of the barrel is here, and it sits like this, and it's called a travel lock. It locks in place so they can travel, so the tube doesn't bounce all around. And so they travel to where they're going. And then what you do is you have to, on this side, it's got a little latch. And so you unlatch the latch, it comes off, so you can get the top part off. And then normally you push it from this side up, and they elevate the tube, and then the travel lock depresses down on the tank, and then they can fire. Well, being that he was inclined, I couldn't reach that little latch. Well, I got the latch, but I couldn't reach that top to get it off. So what he did was he elevated the tube just so ever like this, enough that there's a little gap right here. And me being a hero and a Superman, I reached my little old retarded hand up in there like this and try to flick it off. And it's not flicking. And I said, I can't get it. And what does he do? He depresses the tube and my hand gets caught underneath it. See my finger compared to that finger? See that? Look at that. Chewed up. Chewed up. See that finger there? Chewed up. Looking like just something gnarly. So depressed on my hand, I'm like, elevate, elevate, elevate. He elevates and I'm just grabbing my hand. I'm like, oh my God, that hurts. Oh my God, that hurts. So I pull my outer glove off, my leather glove off, and I have an insert to keep your hand warm. So I pull my insert off, and when I do, I look down and my pinky finger is creased right in half. And there's just little bits of blood coming out right out there. And I'm like, oh my God. And I look at it again, and now blood's coming out all in here. Down the side, just blood. And I'm just like, oh God. And then it starts throbbing. So they call for a medic. Medic comes over. I show it to him. Yep. Medic passed out. So I grab his pouch and medic up my finger. My commander gets me back to the little aid station, and the aid station is first aid, so they just call it the aid station. And that's where all the medics hang out and higher ups. And so I come in, a bunch of them know me. They're like, hey, what's going on? And I show them. They're like, oh man, that's cool. I said, I know, we just need to get it cleaned up. I'm muddy. I'm covered in mud from head to toe. So they put some iodine on it and they start scraping it. And all of a sudden my fingertip goes, "Puck," and there's a bone sticking out, and finger and finger. And bone, fingertip and fingertip just splits right open. And there's my bone and my finger. And the medic's like, oh shit. So he immediately gets it all cleaned up, wraps it up. And now they got to take me to a real hospital. So I go to some weird hospital in the middle of nowhere in Germany. I don't even remember where it was at. I know that if you ever get sent to a German hospital, not American German, but a German, you're in good hands. They take care of their people. So I come in, first thing the doctor looks at, my finger, we're gonna cut it off. Fine by me. I don't want any more pain. And the doctor cleans it up and he starts suturing. And he sutures it all up, looks nice and pretty. My finger's swelled up, I'm in pain. Well, my ring finger, there was a big old blood blister. And he goes over there to try to lance that blood blister, and what he does is he cuts too far, and he cuts all the way down to my finger, to the tendon and stuff, cuts the tendon. So now I got all these gnarled up scar, and little scab peels up during the winter time right here, and it just hurts and rips, tears open. It's just gnarly. So now I'm cleaned up and everything, and they give you this little bitty tiny shot glasses, it ain't much, about twice the size of a thimble. And they say a little bit is like this, that's for pain, and all the way is for pain and sleep. No problem. So they give me just a little bit for pain. Come on. Take that. Could have cut my neck off and I wouldn't have felt the rest of my body. So they get me to a nurse, down the hallway to a nurse, and they're like, you got to get out all these nasty ass clothes. I don't know how they said it, but we could tell what everybody was saying. Or I could tell what everybody was saying, because they were like, I was muddy from head to toe. So I had to take all my clothes off, everything like that. And this little old nurse, female nurse, older, starts the bath in this room. I was afraid it looked more like a morgue where they were going to wash the bodies, but she got it, filled it up about that damn full. And I'm like, woman, I need that bathtub full, some hot water so I can soak. Got in there and she started scrubbing, and I'm like, okay by me, scrub it up. So she scrubbed me down, everything like that, got me good and clean, got to my room, spent 11 days in the hospital. They took real good care of me. Anytime I was feeling pain, nurse came and said, pain? Yeah, pain. Sleep? Yeah, sure, why not pain and sleep? So she come in with that full one, and I'd take that down, and I kid you not, about 15 minutes, I was gone. Didn't care where I was at, didn't know where I was at, nothing. I was gone. And so, they took good care of me. Finally got out after 11 days. Had to spend a lot of time in rehab trying to pick up stamps and learn how to use my finger again. And still to this day, I can't quite close them all the way. But, and they hurt all the damn time. Then I went, and then my finger started getting this nasty smell and look, and I was back in Baumholder, and so I went to Landstuhl, Germany, which is an American hospital there, and the doctor takes a look at it, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to do some stuff. So he pokes a needle all the way around it and lidocaines it up so it's nice and numb at the tip. He tells me to turn my head. He's going to start peeling some of that dead skin off. Well, I turned my head, and he's got one of them old style medicine cabinets with the whole mirror in the background of it. And he starts peeling that dead skin off, and I go, ah! And he jumps and throws shit everywhere. He's like, do you feel that? I was like, no, I just saw you in the mirror. Ooh, he was pissed. But he was happy I didn't feel the pain. I said, don't bother me. I can watch. So I watched him. He peeled all the skin off this pinky finger down past that knuckle. All this was just meat underneath. And he says, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're probably going to have a skin graft. And I said, okay, where are you going to take skin from? Because I'm smart and I know where you're going to take it from. He said, from your butt. Great. Walk around with a butt pinky. Yeah. So he said, we're going to wait a little while. So they cleaned it all up, bandaged it up and all that kind of stuff. And over time, the skin did come back. It wasn't as dead as they thought it was. So it ended up growing back. you know, it's a finger now. Can't really pick your nose with it or scratch anything with it. This gnarled up crazy nail grows and it gets real funky and thick, and you gotta use like a hacksaw and a chisel and stuff to get it off, but to shape it down. So, but that's about it for those stories there. That's about it for those stories. I don't think I have anything else for now. I've been going on for long enough. But I just want to thank everybody again for liking and subscribing and watching my channel. Any comments you have, any suggestions you have, just throw them out there. I'll be happy to read them and look into them and see what I can do. And everybody cold's coming in over the next week. It's going to get real nasty and real cold no matter where you're at. Be safe, be warm. Make sure your pipes are wrapped up really good. Make sure your heater's good to go. Make sure your animals are inside. Please do not leave your animals outside. You can leave your wife outside. Don't leave your animals outside. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't leave your wife outside. Nobody's going to cook for you. So that being said, love everybody. Thank you for everything. Y'all have a good evening.